And I would like to invite to the stage our already known speaker here at this conference, Milovčík from Siemens Healthineers. Vítajte, welcome. Guenther, Meyringer, ASECO, CEIT. Yes, you can clap your hands. You can just continue clapping, and because Guenther also deserves warm welcome. Tarábek from Fakulta riadenia a informatizácie, is that correct? Informatiky from the University of Žilina. And Michal Gregor from Kempelen Institute. Welcome. Hi. Okay, Michal, that was a nice choice to go around everybody. Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, guys, welcome. Somebody gave me some questions, but I'm gonna use some of them because I'm really interested in what are you using the AI for at your company? Peter, you already spoke about that. You know that you use AI for software testing at Siemens Healthineers. What else? Is it just testing or?
Yeah, so software testing is just something what I export as a test architect, but we have plenty of AI involvement in our products. One example could be, for example, the segmentation of the brain, so that radiologist knows basically where exactly the tissue of the brain starts for the specific parts of the brain. So that's something what AI can do quite.
So it's not good. Just ChatGPT and
no.
Working and testing the code. How long are you using AI? Because I know that this is your main point of or way of work here in Slovakia, that you are using AI to describe the results of the MRI and CT machines.
So in company, we are using AI for quite some time already. So Siemens Healthineers is one of the major AI leader in the patents for the AI. But personally, I'm not so involved in the AI development or training in that. So there are more specifically organization or teams, departments in our company that are heavily train models, specific AI models for these specific algorithms and functionalities, but I am not directly involved in that.
Okay, Guenther, since we are going to speak about AI the whole 50 minutes, what is ASECO using AI for? What are you doing? What are you building? How are you using it?
Yes, so ASECO said we are building robotic systems which are carrying material in production environments. So we move up to 3 tons of materials, so engines, for example. And we use AI primarily to find the way in the production hall. So we use a lot of 3D vision elements. That's the first main part of artificial intelligence. The second is we have, for example, in Volkswagen Bratislava, we have 450 of robots working together in the environment. So the second level of artificial intelligence is what we call swarm intelligence, so that they don't hit each other on the way. Yeah, so that they are like intelligent bees, not conflicting to each other.
And I heard about the big thing is a robot-human cooperation. Can you use AI for that? When you like human works together with the robot, and so they have to interact somehow. Is that where you can like okay, he's not ready to get the next shipment or hold the next box or something like that?
Yeah, we have some elements, for example, in the ergonomics area where there is coordination between the robot and the human. We have in Velux, who is producing windows, for example, when the robot is bringing the window, we understand the height of the person, and according to that, we can automatically adjust the workspace. So that's one area where there's interaction. In many cases, actually, companies still try to avoid too much interaction because that's where the problem then starts. Yeah. So if you look at the typical robotic environment, you have these cages that are protective to the humans. We have elements where, for example, we try to create protective zones. If you imagine a manual forklift driver operating in an environment, then we block that zone automatically for robots to enter that zone. Yeah. So the cooperation right now is more in regards to safety making sure that nothing happens between
So
the
they don't
human
meet,
network.
making sure they stay away from each other as possible.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Tarábek, you're from the university, so and it's a big one. It's a big name in Slovak universities, and we know that you do a lot of research. What is your specialization? Specialization in AI? Like how do you use? What do you research in AI?
Okay, so there are two parts. The first is the research, and second is cooperation with companies.
Yes, actually, you know, I think you have Hyundai Kia really close nearby. So, and you also work with industry for like what's going to be next for the industry.
Yeah, we cooperate with a lot of companies. So for the companies, it's usually automation. I am in the field of computer vision, so it's mainly like controlling the quality of processes and goods and so on. And from the research point of view, I'm devoted to explainability and interpretability of deep neural network models, because right now there are these black boxes and we really don't know what's going on there, and we try to understand them slightly to be able to find out if there are no biases and some potential problems in them. And then I work on reinforcement learning, which focuses on dynamic systems.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wonderful. So as the companies come to you, like, listen, we need help. We need. Does this happen?
Yes, sometimes, but usually it's more random connection. Someone knows me, and they know someone who has a problem. I think it's not that often that companies came to university for the solution. It's not the habit we have here.
Ja, páni zvukári, prepáčte, iba jednu vec vás chcem poprosiť, či nám sem neotočíte nejaký reprák, lebo nepočujeme sa tu na stage, či sa napríklad tento odposluch nedá otočiť. Keď vás môžem poprosiť, lebo ledva si rozumieme tu na stage. Sorry, I was just talking to them about the sound because I can't understand too much. Okay, Mr. Gregor, you are one of the newest research institution in Slovakia, and you have a lot of international staff. You are doing a lot of projects, and I actually met some of you at a Christmas party last year, I think. And what are you using? I have a memo here that you're using AI to analyze and process user data on the web, including misinformation. What does that mean?
Well, it's true that it's... Okay, apparently it's on. Okay, great. So yeah, we're a research institute, a very new one, as you said. And actually, everything we do involves AI in some extent. That's really like our main topic. And a lot of our activities also in our team concern misinformation and disinformation. I think the role of AI is a very powerful one in that area. So of course, there is the negative role, because you can use these large generative models to create this information, but we also need AI to combat that. So that's actually a large use case for us now. And you know, one way you can envision that is you have fact checkers who now manually go through content and fact check it. What we can do for them is support them. So we can do claim matching, where we look up stuff that has already been fact-checked. That's one thing where we can help. Or we can do conversational fact-checking support, where they can ask questions, factual questions, that the model answers them, and they can discuss it, let's say, with the model. And, well, basically there's a lot of applications like that. And what we really hope to achieve is to bring these to end users as well at some point, where you can just, you know, consume a video on YouTube, and as you watch, you would be able to ask questions, and you know, you might be alerted to some non-factual stuff.
I'm watching a video or I find something on the internet, and I'm not sure about it, so I ask question like somewhere under there's a window, and I can just add my. Is this correct? Is this true?
Yeah. That's kind of the vision. Yes.
Yes, but do you think people want to do this? Like, because I think most of the people, they just watch it on their channel where they're used to watching things, and they believe that channel, so they're like, Why would they ask questions?
I mean, it depends on the content, right? But sometimes you have the question, like you're watching a video and you think, is this really true? So now you would have a very nice interface for asking that question. You wouldn't have to Google or anything. You would just be able to ask.
But can you just say, like, this is not true? Can you just put a sign, a sticker, like, okay, this, you can watch this, but this is false?
I mean, I do think that that's an option. I'm envisioning something like the Web of Trust plugin that you have in browsers now. So we would be able to build something like that in the future based on these AI models, where it would be able to alert you to something that might potentially be non-factual. I don't think we're quite at the point that we're able to do that very reliably because, as you probably know, there is a lot of hallucinations and stuff like that in the models. But it's actually getting a lot better now, so I think that's a future use case.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to go to Peter Milovčík again. What do you think is the biggest innovation which happened in like the last couple of years in your field in AI? Like what was the thing? Because for most of the people here, I think when you say AI, they think of LLM, large language models, they think of ChatGPT, but AI is everything else. AI is also vision, AI is neural networks, AI is deep learning, so it's like a lot of things happening there. So what was for you the biggest innovation?
I don't know one specific exactly thing, one big breakthrough, because there are so many little small AI models that are helping radiologists on daily basis. One of them that I can mention is, for example, the landmarking AI algorithm that identifies the specific parts of the body. And this is something that easily helps when, for example, patient goes to the first examination, and then later, after some treatment, he goes to the second examination, and his body on the CT scanner is not exactly as it was in the first exam. It can be moved a little bit differently. So these landmark AI algorithms can help to register basically these two scans together and fuse them together so that the radiologist then can see the differences basically in the body, in the scan of that imaging, and then basically correct the treatment if something...
That is really huge thing. I think that's a huge thing for like satellite maps also, when you take 3-4 pictures within a 2-week range, and there's always something different. There's some clouds, and then there's like a lot of use cases. And the algorithms, where did they come from? Is it like the programmers found a way to improve the algorithms? Was it this, or was it processing power, or what was behind that innovation?
So first, basically, there are required plenty of data that are required to really find and train these models, but it's also important to mention these smart people behind it that really work on these models, and they are really specialized in the field and have really good trainings and education to work in that field, and they come up with these brilliant algorithms that are helping radiologists basically.
But this is really big actually, because this happens in CT, this happens in MRI, and this happens with not the body but the brain, anything, hand, whatever. So you always, the pictures are always not the same. So you cannot place the person within a range of a year to the same. So this is a big thing for you, because you use this 90% of cases. So that's probably why it is so big.
Yes, and it's important to somehow help radiologists to speed up the examination, because they don't have like hour or even half an hour to do the examination, because other patients are waiting for that. So they need to really do that quickly.
So they already see a picture which is adjusted, and the pictures look similar or the same, or...
Yeah, so basically this fusion combines these two scans together and then shows the differences based on these AI landmarks in the body, and then radiologists can see the difference, and also he's able to do, it's called segmentation, basically to visualize some aspect, some part of maybe some tumor in the body, and then measure, for example, its size. That's also something what AI algorithms can help to specify the volume or the size of that potential tumor, and that's also helping really much to speed up the process.
Thank you. Mr. Meyringer, what was your biggest thing? What did happen in the last couple of years in your field, AI-wise?
So let me first start with the bigger perspective. I personally still think that ChatGPT and everything around that is a really milestone achievement to use AI in a much broader space than before, because at the end of the day, any technology is only as good as the interface that allows the human to use that technology. And if you look at the time before ChatGPT, I think artificial intelligence was exclusively for a small number of data scientists, highly sophisticated software developers. It was simply not accessible to the broader range of people. Now, if you take the ChatGPT prompt as the interface, today you can apply AI tools, methods, basically everybody, graphics designer, artists, sports people can leverage that, and that was not possible before. So that's, on the bigger picture, I think that's really a huge innovation, because it's always the interface that is critical to be able to leverage technology. If you look into our domain in terms of robotics, where we have the biggest change and the most dramatic improvement, is definitely computer vision, going from simply capturing an environment in a 2D space. So 3-4 years ago, the robots were basically only using LiDAR scanners and were only capturing the environment on a flat level 10 centimeters above the ground. And the basic principle was you need to be able to detect a person laying on the ground for safety reasons. That was the initial idea. And now with 3D visions, we can capture the environment in a completely different way. We can detect obstacles, we can detect things that are moving in the space, we can make more clever decisions. So one of the things which we are currently working on, which sounds trivial, but 2 years ago it was not possible, when you have a forklift and when you want to stack pallets, we could not do that because we only saw on the ground. We didn't know what's happening 20, 30 centimeters above the ground. So all these capabilities that come with 3D vision is massive for the things we can do. If you compare the robot to the human has still one big advantage, which will always be difficult to replicate, is the human can improvise. Yeah? The robot is working on a predetermined environment and wants to make predetermined decisions, so the improvisation will always be difficult. But the 3D vision allows us to understand as a robot much more complex environments than we were able to do before.
With the improvisation, is it going to be so difficult, or do you not just need more data? Because I think human can improvise because he's been through the situation, because he's played with the ball since he was 6 months old, and he's taking the knowledge and improving it until 30, and then he can just know how the ball feels when the ball flies. You know, he's not going to make a sudden left or sudden right, so he can put his hand in front of the ball. And do you think that your robots, with enough of data, if they would acquire as much data as the 3-year-old child or 6-month child until the adulthood, is it just about data and that you can improve?
I think the human will still be more clever to adjust to an undefined situation. Yeah.
I was at another conference and they were mentioning self-driving cars, and someone just, it was a small mention, someone mentioned that they're teaching the cars things like, if the car sees a ball rolling on the road, then it should think that there's going to be a child following the ball, and they should stop even for the ball, because the ball means that there's a person coming after it in 2 seconds. So
you can put all kind of potential events into that, but you cannot put everything into the model.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So the human will still be able to improvise.
Yes, but do you think I can learn something like this? Because even if I've driven a car once and I played a ball game 3 years before that, I'm going to be awaiting the child. Maybe I'm going to be thinking of the child. Do you think model can learn like this, that you just teach him how to play volleyball, show him pictures, videos of kids playing baseball, and then put a card in and he can think about that?
You can build the model, but it will be very purpose-built. as soon as you go out of the model, the system will fail.
Ah, okay.
The human can adapt to different models.
Yeah, so, yes.
Maybe just one comment to the self-driving cars. So my colleague said that if this Tesla or any AI car, self-driving car, would be able to drive in India, in Bangalore, then he would trust it.
Okay, that's not going to happen, or the traffic is going to stop in India for a long time when Tesla enters. Okay, Mr. Tarábek, so for you, what is the biggest innovation in AI in the last couple of years?
There has been a huge amount of advancements since 2012, but for the recent years, the generative AI, like ChatGPT, Stable Diffusion, and a lot of advances were made in reinforcement learning, like human in a loop, like reinforcement learning with a human in a loop, and transformers from the architecture perspective. And what we have today is really like a lot of small things, a lot of very small things put together, and really we achieve a large milestone with ChatGPT, because it's amazing what it can do.
And what is the driver behind this innovation? Is it more processor power? Is it more data? Or is it smart people building better algorithms?
I think all of that. The computational power increases. We have a lot of data. Maybe people don't know, but to develop ChatGPT, it uses a lot of human interactions. We need a lot of human annotations when we are building the reward functions and stuff behind it. So we can't even imagine how many people's work, like this labeling and this feedback from people, needed to be done for the ChatGPT. And of course, the methods are improving. So all of that.
And you're mentioning there was a lot of human interaction in building the ChatGPT. I once saw a meme picture. It was Homer Simpson with his face like really smooth from the front, and there was like AI, and from the back there was a picture with his face was stuck to be like this, and it was like if. Like, is this still correct vision of AI? Should I think about AI in this way, that this is like a lot of ifs put together, and someone managed to put, if you put 10 million ifs, then it's going to be better than a million ifs?
No, it's not like that. It's more like extremely complex non-linear transformation of the data. So basically, GPT means like the P is the pre-trained, and what is important is that they can create what we call embeddings. So, and that's a different kind of reality. We are not generating this text and images from the pixels from the real world, but we have some inner representation, and the AI need to learn this inner representation, and it's very complex. And it's not just a bunch of ifs. It has really this topological. It makes sense topologically, and actually no one knows what they learn. We don't know why they create this kind of transformation, because it can't be, we never understand. We will never understand it.
So then the mission of the person isn't to add the ifs, but just tell him, like, you should be homophobic, you shouldn't be racist, you shouldn't be like this is what the guy is doing there right now.
No. It's more about adding data and adding good feedback.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and Mr. Gregor, is LLM model, is LLM the biggest thing that happened for you also? Because I know you work with mostly with the language and text.
Well, it is definitely a big thing. I would say my personal favorite would be a variant of the LLM, which also includes other data modalities. Like you can have vision language models, you can have other modalities apart from that. And I really like that. And kind of I would, I guess, go back a little bit to what you said about the ball and the child, and how people learn and that sort of thing, because I believe that with especially with these multimodal models, we now have a lot of data at our disposal. So you could, for example, train a model on the entire YouTube. And you could have speech, you could have vision, you could have even written language if you take subtitles. And that would be a huge data set, and you don't need to label it manually. So that kind of walks around a little bit about what Petjo said earlier. And you can already do that with language models, right? You just train on a lot of text from the internet. You don't necessarily need to label it manually. So that's something I'm very excited about. Now, one thing that's kind of barring us a little bit from just deploying a model on the entirety of YouTube is computation, but I think we're also moving ahead there because apart from other things, we can now train like smaller models which have great performance. So for example, well, we don't know quite how large GPT-4 is, but we know that we have much smaller models now which for the majority of tasks actually deliver pretty good performance. Even we have very, very small models which you can essentially run on a single GPU, and they're quite good. So this is something I'm excited about. Another thing I would maybe mention with regard to these multimodal models, since we can train them in self-supervised ways, so without a lot of annotations, they can learn a lot of different concepts. So they can learn, stuff that we don't really have in a lot of models, because if you train something on a pre-labeled data set, you might have classes like, dogs, cats, cars, that sort of thing. But if you want to ask very specific questions, like does the dog in the image have pointy or floppy ears? You probably don't have data sets that are labeled for that. So this is something we can hopefully be able to do very soon with these new kinds of models. And that will be huge because there's a lot of applications in the industry where you don't have a lot of data. You don't want to label a lot of data, you can't even collect maybe.
Actually, I've come across to this because what I do, I produce stand-up comedy shows, and there are moments where we don't sell the tickets, and I want to see how many tickets are sold, and I don't have the API, I don't have the info. I just see the room, and I see red are taken places, green are free places. So I don't want to count them like this. So I try to do a screenshot, and I put it to ChatGPT and tell him, listen, red things are sold. I need to know how many green spots are in this picture. Never correct, never even once. Then what I did, I took one of the seats, and I told him, like, listen, I'm uploading another picture. How many of these pictures are in this picture? 17,260. I'm like, okay, then I'm like, okay, the room only has 200. Then I'm like, okay, so let's start. This is a room. I'm selling tickets for this room. This room has 300 seats, so it cannot be 17,260. I'm sorry about that. And I'm like, so the question, the answer is incorrect. Yeah, I know that. That's why I'm giving this. And so why does this happen?
Well, there are several reasons for that, but maybe, to make it a little simpler, I would go back to what Petjo said. The models are building representations of reality.
But this is my reality.
Yes, right. But as it happens, the language model, that's the part that is trying to give the answer to you. But unfortunately, the visual part can't represent this. It can't represent the count of seats. It can't actually represent, at this moment, I don't know of any model which can just look at a photo and tell you the thing about the dogs, whether they have floppy or pointy ears. And that's such an easy thing, right, for us.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the models don't have that, and there are several reasons for that. And one major reason is the way they're trained, because this visual part is usually pre-trained on something else. I guess maybe I am not going to go into the details of why, but there's a lot of these fine-grained things that it can't do. One of my colleagues is doing explainability on multimodal models, and what she often sees is that the model can't, for example, tell whether a person is walking or running or lying. It just completely ignores that.
I have a colleague, I have a friend, she's working on this. She's like, specializes in figuring out the positions of human body in pictures and videos. I'm like, how can you use this? And she's like, they have cameras all around the city, and you can spot a car accident. You can see a person falling down. How? The computer knows how a body which is alive and okay should be positioned. And if it's positioned differently, it can tell you like, okay, this body is not alive anymore because this hand shouldn't be like this. And so this is really interesting for me. Okay, let's talk business. Maybe there are some business owners, maybe there are some people who are employed in a business. How should I think about AI within my business? There's Siemens Healthineers. Okay, you know what you're doing, but maybe there's development companies. There's companies who hire people. How should I think as a business owner or as a CTO that probably the people for 6 months now are like, okay, shit, we should be doing something with AI. We should be doing, everybody's doing, and we should be doing, we don't want to be left behind. What to do, how to start? Peter, please tell us, why should I, even for me, which I run a stand-up comedy company, what should I do, how should I think about incorporating AI in my business?
Right. So if I would consider some IT company that really develop some software, I would consider from the perspective of CEO, first step would be how can I train more people in our company with working with this generative AI? How can they become familiar with prompting, with really knowing how to communicate with these generative AI models? So that would be start, and that's easy to do, basically. And regarding the investment, some maybe from the Microsoft GitHub Copilot that's accessible, I would consider if the company policy allows that to provide that for the developers as soon as possible, basically, because that, from my perspective and from my experience, is definitely time saver for the development. And if the company is able to quickly adapt to this new generative AI model and to quickly learn how to use it, then they can quickly gain some advantage over the other companies because of speed up of development and also in the quality of their code and in different processes as well.
So this is what should I do? First thing is train as many people as possible to show them what can be done.
To know how to use that, so they are familiar. It's not something like buzzword somewhere, but they really know how to work with that and to do that efficiently. So after a couple of weeks or even months of daily using these AI tools, developers can quickly adapt and learn what exact things to say or don't say to these models to have good answers.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Meyringer, what do you do when a client comes like, I feel we should be using AI, what should we do, help us? I know that you probably sell them some services like, oh, we have an expert for that for 300 euros an hour. He's going to need 300 hours to tell you more.
Yeah, so let's take a typical client example and like a line balancing project. Yeah, so you have a production line, and if you have a production line, there's a certain number of resources, the machinery, there's material you need to bring to the production line, and there's then people working on the production line. And you have a large number of combinations that you could apply to this model, and you want to achieve the maximum output. So now the boss comes to you and say, we need to produce 10% more, but with the same number of people. So that's a perfect case for artificial intelligence. You put all the parameters you have in the model, you create all possible permutations in a very fast way, and then you can see how to optimize that. So in many of our customers, it's really a combination of assets they have, of input, like material input and people, and to understand how can optimize that. If you look at most of companies that we meet today, they still do this in Excel. Large number of spreadsheets, shift schedules in spreadsheets. So I think here artificial intelligence can do massive improvements. Yeah. I also see that because you mentioned different kind of companies, in every company that I've seen, people are doing a lot of manual repetitive work. They do every week the same thing. People are not happy about doing that, but they have to do that because of the next reporting deadline. And AI can really change the way how you can automate things. For me, it's the next level of automation that you can reach because you can use the data in a different way. And I've in my company, for example, when we create offers for our customers, it takes typically 2 to 3 weeks to create such an offer because I need 15 specialists to sit together. What we did is we took historical projects and we priced new project based on historical data. We can do an offer instead of 3 weeks in 5 minutes. Yeah.
But you have this constant there, like adds 15% to each new project to the price.
How much?
15?
It's not enough.
Not enough? More 20? Okay. And I thought the inflation is better in Germany, so that's why the inflation is okay. Okay, Mr. Tarábek, what should the company, what do you advise if your friend comes to you, listen, I run a company and we need to add AI to our workflow?
It's too general a question. Yeah. I would ask him, well, they either need to have a new product or they want to improve efficiency. And for improving efficiency, as was already said, this generative AI is very good. So they should train people to use generative AI in a good way, because a lot of people take the lazy approach that they think that the ChatGPT will do their work. If GPT is able to do their work, they will not be employed in some period of time. So it's more like improving your work, like to be able to achieve better results. I think that the generative AI should enhance you. So everybody should, everybody who is creating some content should be trained on these technologies. And from the product point of view, I usually ask what data you have. It's probably the biggest part of the discussion. What data you have, what are your use cases, how many data you have, show me the data, and the discussion really go around the data.
Mm-hmm. The use case for your company of using AI is based on how much and how good data you have. Would that be what you're trying to say?
They need to know what they can sell. I can't do it for them, but I usually ask for the data, and sometimes for the hardware, as was mentioned. These language models are quite large and require a lot of computation. So sometimes the use case is that they need to use very specific hardware. So we talk about the hardware, but usually it's the data.
Mm-hmm. And it's usually the product or the core business. You know, do you think you can improve accounting, hiring, or anything else, or just focus on the core business with the company?
Usually in the field of automation, like try to automate things like quality control, checking of something. And
You're from the transportation university, and I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and Mr. Gregor, what should the company do? What would your thing to tell somebody how to use AI at their company?
Yes, so I think there are several points to make here, and I definitely agree with what was already said. You know, if you're really serious about it, you probably want to have someone in-house to have the expertise. And there are a lot of options now. You can sign up for courses, you can go to summer schools. There are even things like that organized in Slovakia specifically. So you don't even need to go abroad, really. So that's one thing. You would probably want to have some of your own people, learn to use the things. And I want to stress that this is even very important in the early stages. Like, it's not a good strategy to think, well, for the next 5 years, I'm going to collect data, and then I'm going to ask some expert to come in and do something with it, because I know companies which have collected a ton of data and none of it can be used because it's just not, it's not collected properly. It's not structured. It doesn't have good quality. So that's obviously a waste. So you don't want that to happen. And then, also depending on what you're trying to do, you might want to involve other people who have expertise in that area. So you might, for example, speak to Peťo about vision stuff or reinforcement learning stuff. You might speak to Kinit about language. You might speak to other people. So depending on really on the use case. Now, I'm not sure. I guess I would lean more towards like looking into things that you can use in your core business, in your products, in your services. For automation of other stuff, I would personally, that's my opinion, I would lean towards like buying that from somebody else. So it can be AI based, but I probably wouldn't want to develop that because for at least some things like we were talking earlier with some partners about automatically processing invoices and papers like that, and that's quite a lot of work. I mean, you need quite a lot of data that you need to collect. So I would probably lean a bit towards like buying that from somebody who can already do that well. But there are options, obviously.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think we have time for one more question. And I would really love to. I'm really interested in this. Do you have any fears about AI? Like, do you wake up at night like this? If this happens, then we're fucked. This is not gonna be good. So, do you have like anything? Because I do. Because sometimes when I see every time I see the new model, every time I ask the question, I'm like, okay, this is not good. This is like and then I watch some Netflix series, and then I see this jumping robot, and then Boston Dynamics puts up another video, and I just see these technologies combining, and I know like, and it's dancing, and it's jumping through the window, and it's happy, and I know that there's somewhere a base in US where this already has a machine gun mounted on it, and it's already got the ChatGPT inside in its head, and it can just see me that it's Jano Gordulic, and it's gonna come through my window, and it's just gonna shoot me. So what is your biggest fear?
Well, I don't have such a nightmares or some
Be glad.
fears about the AI in the near future. Maybe in some distant future, let's see. But I'm on the spectrum more excited side, so I don't fear so much about AI and generative AI in general. But yes, there is a lot of fear, let's say, on social networks. There is plenty of that as well. But yes, on one hand, there is a risk that has to be considered for sure. It can be dangerous in many cases, but it's still a tool. So like fire can be good and it can help, but it also can do some damage. And this is the similar with the AI. So AI can do plenty of good, and I see more good than evil. But it has to be really maybe regulated and controlled in some proper way. But I see that we starting to grow in the area that we are going to solve more and more complex problems, I mean worldwide, with this AI. And this is something what I consider as a good thing. So that would help us to speed up solving more complex problems. And if somebody is afraid of AI, whether it will take his job or something like that, I mean, if the complexity of your job is so simple, let's say like that yes, it can be replaced, but maybe you can step up and start to solve bigger, more complex problems, and then you are fine. So I don't fear that.
Okay, thank you. Guenther?
Yeah, I have 3 fears in my head. The first one is the same like yours. So I'm Austrian, so Arnold Schwarzenegger is very close to me. And whenever I see these Boston Dynamics videos, I think about Terminator, and I'm really scared about that shit, to be honest.
It's like one system integrator away. This is like...
So the problem is you can only solve this with regulations, and we both know that United States or Israel or whomever, it will be difficult to regulate. But I'm really concerned about this. So that's number one. The second, which I hate to see, is if I'm in my garden and there's drones all over the place, shipping, bringing Amazon packages, so I have this in my head. I would hate a world where we have drones all over the place. That's number 2. And the third thing is the bias that artificial intelligence brings. I bring this example in Austria about unemployment system, where you have a certain amount of funds that you can deploy to find jobs for people, and basically the algorithm tells you there's a higher chance that these people find a job, and therefore I should more focus on these people, which means that the people that already have a harder time are left out, and that's really a bad development. So AI has this big tendency to increase the bias, and again, we need to protect that because we need to keep the community as a community.
Okay, that's really nice thinking. Thank you. Peter?
Well, I'm not scared, but I'm pessimistic.
Ah,
Because people will try to misuse AI. It's in our nature, and no regulation will stop it. This year, 2 companies were able to train ChatGPT. Next deal, it will be 20 companies, maybe. Next deal, maybe 100. So this technology scales very rapidly, and the Western companies are semi-transparent. We know that OpenAI, we know something about them, but nobody knows what the China is doing, for example. Yeah. Nobody knows, and they have access to data which we can't imagine because they have no any moral concerns to get any data from their people. So I'm pessimistic that there will be a lot of problems in the future.
okay, thank you. And Mr. Gregor?
Yes, thank you. So one thing I would say, I am usually not worried about AI being too powerful, too smart. With me, it's usually the other kind of worries, and I think that those are really the ones that materialize nowadays. And I like to mention one comment from Mrs. Heather Stanek that she made a couple of years ago on Facebook when people were discussing, AI is going to lead to human extinction and that sort of thing. And she said, well, the autocorrect on my phone the other day corrected, I'll be there in a while to fluffy mangoes. I'm not worried about AI. And that's kind of my point as well. Usually the trouble comes about because these models don't really work that well. But that said, I am worried about applications like lethal autonomous weapon systems because, well, at least in our experience, right, over the past few years, the people in power generally are not very rational. So they might deploy something like this, even though it's totally unreliable. And that's letting aside the question whether it's ethical to have such systems in the first place. But if you have them, you probably at least want them to be reliable and not to destroy targets that you really, civilian buildings or things like that. So that's one thing. And my more immediate worry, of course, is about the things like generative AI, where it can really now produce content that is very difficult to distinguish from real data. So I think that is going to be, at least we're going to have to learn, because I don't think we're immune to that. If somebody calls you on your phone and he uses the voice of your friend and asks for money, I don't think we're quite ready for that yet. We'll have to learn.
I think we have problems with that with the politicians too. They cannot realize that the bread with onion is a joke, and what is going to happen when AI is going to generate pictures like this. Okay, and now really fast for the questions where you gave us.